What are we talking about?
We dive into the fastest path to ROI a business can take with 3 AI agent roles.
Highway to ROI. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
We're on a highway to ROI. It doesn't have the same ring, does it?
No, I don't think it does.
Welcome to the show, where AI takes the floor. Lee and Rich on the mic.
Welcome to the AI Guys podcast, where we make artificial intelligence easy to understand for everyone. I'm your host, Lee Dixon, and as always, I'm joined by the man with 99 problems, but AI ain't one, Rich Swire.
I actually changed my name to Rick Z from here on. from this episode
Yeah?
on. Yeah, Rick Z.
That just opened up, and you're like, I see a lane, I can take it.
I know it's probably not a great brand decision, but
yeah, it comes with some baggage, but
sometimes you got to take the risk.
For sure. Well, today we are going to talk about the most fail-safe way and fastest path to ROI that a business can take using these 3 agent roles. So on a previous episode, we started talking about the quickest way, or at least the lowest risk options for businesses to kind of think about their AI agentic workforce. And I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into those when we're talking about like 3 pillars. So we've got sales, we've got support, and we've got marketing. So let's look at sales first with that SDR and kind of BDR role. And I'm sure everyone listening obviously probably knows what those are, but really it's an AI tool or an AI assistant that could focus on sales teams to generate more revenue, whether this is qualifying leads, booking appointments, leveraging pipelines. So let's dive into that first.
Yeah, so I think it's important to kind of outline some of the capabilities that an SDR has to have. You know, internally, like on our platform, Rhea, we call them skills. And so this is actually where the OpenAI ChatGPT experience stops and where agentic platforms start. So the first skill that you would want to be able to give an SDR, obviously, is the ability to email, receive and send, as well as SMS text message. And also potentially a voice. So the idea of wanting to either do outreach to promote your product or to drive inquiries to a targeted audience, maybe you grabbed it off LinkedIn, or maybe you already have a list that came to a conference, whatever it might be, your proactive outreach that you want this AI agent to do via text or via email, it needs to have the capability of doing that. So it actually operates not too dissimilar to like what most companies used in the past, which is like this outbound mail,
entry
like
level.
MailChimp or anything else, or even CRM systems kind of do that as well. These drip campaigns. Well,
yeah,
I think the day of the drip is on its is on the way.
The day of the drip is dead.
Yeah, I'm calling it right here.
One hot take left in this year, and he's got it. This is what it is.
Yeah. So the day of the drip is over because it leaves basically everything short. So when you do an email blast or you send out a drip, it is painfully obvious. We all know it, and certainly our prospects know it, that it is a drip, right? It's like, come on. And it has this feeling of like, this is just lazy and I'm not going to respond to it.
And it's super inauthentic too.
Yeah. It's like the banner ads in the early, in the late 90s. Like people got kind of just started ignoring banner ads, right? And that's why they're very rarely, nobody ever clicks on them, because it's like we know now to program them out of our minds, right? So I think with AI, you actually have this first time to be in conversational, which is what you want with an SDR. You want it to be able to say, what we tell clients is you want to end that first message, that call to action or that first outgoing message, with a question mark, not a period. And what that means is when you do an email blast or a text blast or whatever you might be doing, you don't want them to respond, because when they respond, it just kind of goes into what we call the no reply zone, right? Like that's why it's like no reply. It's like, okay, great. You don't want me to communicate or don't want me to respond. Versus ending it with a question mark, it's like, it's such an eloquent way of thinking, but it's basically, it's like, all right, hey, I saw that you came to our website, or hey, I saw that you came to a conference we were at. I don't know if you had time to step by our booth. What about our product interested you? Question mark. And that what it does is it promotes a conversation, which in most cases, something you may not want to do if you're sending out thousands and thousands of messages, because you don't have the staff to actually, reply. But in this case, AI does a great job of not only replying, but actually having a full-blown conversation. And we've seen this time and time again with our clients, where the AI will communicate, 5, 6, 7 text messages back and forth. and can easily craft the conversation to a call to action or to a link to book an appointment, or even saying, hey, what time's good for you for us to reach out? Oh, it's tomorrow too. Great. So
one thing on that too is I do think AI's ability to know the job but go off script is hugely underrated for a lot of the SDR roles, because I've seen more times than not where typically a bot experience, or even just a low level SDR, right, that would just hear the objection and go like, okay, sorry, like let me know if anything changes and back off. AI knows how to do that, but kind of still spin it slightly to keep a conversation going. And if they continue to respond, then just keep slowly inching and extracting more information until they then say, you know what? Yeah, I'll take that call. Or yeah, I would like to learn more, because they realize that, one, it probably wasn't just a preloaded message that came back and it's, a robot. But two, it shows like they're actually being heard in the conversation and not just pushed into we'll book some time here. And it's like, I don't know what time I'm available. And then from there, it's just dead silence. And it's like, well, this was a waste of my time.
To push it even further, every SDR that we've deployed has been somewhat unique, because every customer has a unique set of questions, a unique set of qualifiers, call to actions, and so forth. And the training and all the training that we provide that AI around its product and service allows it the flexibility to really move left and right when it's, I've seen our AI agent respond to people who say, oh, I'm at my kid's birthday party, and it says, oh, great, tell them happy birthday. We can talk, it sounds like you're really busy.
Yeah.
Let's talk tomorrow. Right. So it's not just about like, okay, and I think a lot of people are not understanding how powerful that is, because I think they are also, our experience with chatbots, mostly on the support side, is underwhelming, right? Nobody likes the experience with chatbots, because like it's no different than kind of going through
you're a roadblock to get me to a human, and you're not helping me.
It's not dynamic and so forth, and AI definitely adds that component. And then just to end this part of it, for the SDR side, the other part of this, which is extraordinarily easy to deploy, but also like extraordinarily valuable, is allowing your AI SDR access and ability to add notes and update statuses inside of your CRM.
Yeah. Or calendar integrations, anything it's in your like main stack of what makes you effective as a salesperson. It's going to be, your phone list, your CRM, or where you keep notes to make sure you're tracking all of this, and your calendar. And if you have a tool that doesn't give you the ability to easily integrate into those three things, then it's probably bogging down your your actual workflow more than it's helping you.
Right. And that's one of the reasons why we built our platform the way we did it, is Rhea, which sits on top of the entirety of the ecosystem of the business, is able to tie into all these third-party apps. And so that's the power of what you want when you deploy an AI agent, is the ability to connect to that cow.com or that Calendly or that Outlook calendar, and then connect to that Salesforce or HubSpot or even spreadsheet in Google Sheets, whatever it is that you're using to manage all this. And then also be able to email and text message and live outside of the confines of these SaaS silos that we all kind of are slaves to, and allow the AI to kind of live and breathe and be able to connect to all these different systems easily, so that your business doesn't have to change. At the end of the day, we've talked about this numerous times, is when you hire somebody, they might need access to 4 or 5 different tools. They might be learning 5 or 6 different processes. They might be reporting to 1 or 2 or 3 different people. And AI should be no different. It should be that flexible.
Yeah. One thing when we transition to CSR that I think touches on both is the ability to also change in between English and maybe like native language that someone is using. Because I know for a handful of our customers as well, they might have heavy US based customers, but being able to possibly have somebody inside of that organization, or if they have, global reach or at least international reach to a degree, having someone be able to reach out and not have to say, do you have someone that speaks Spanish, and literally have AI step right in and say like, I do, how can I help you? I do think that also speeds things up in a lot of ways, especially when we're talking about support, because the hardest part is if you do have maybe somebody that's utilizing services or might not be your specific customer that is a majority of your usership, be able to seamlessly discuss things with that team, I think that's a huge step.
Yeah, I mean, there's all these like really nice surprises that you get with AI. Like sometimes we'll see a sales inquiry or a support inquiry come in a different language, and then you see AI just kind of go right into it and start, and you're like, oh man, I totally forgot that this thing knows every single language. And it's just one of those things that you don't really plan for, but then you see it happen organically and you're like, wow, this is very powerful stuff. I didn't have to program it. I didn't have to tell it to do that. It just knew to do that. And again, it's these little things, these small, although they're very obviously complex to build, but these small, additive things over time just makes AI just so far superior to whatever your existing solution is to that. I mean,
Yeah.
I've gotten to the point now we're so used to using our own AI support agent and obviously testing it and configuring it for our clients. So I've got, our whole team here is used to using AI driven support, CSRs and so forth. And then when I actually go to another site that's not a customer, but it's just like a service that we use, and we use their, and we use their intercom, it is the most frustrating thing ever.
And it feels so slow. Like, and I understand it's supposed to speed things up a little bit, but man, does it feel like you're just in a slog going through that.
And it's ironic because a lot of times I'll go to a support agent that's on like a CRM or on like a support site itself, and I'm just like, this is horrible. Like, I should just be able to ask it a question and it should be able to give me an answer. There shouldn't be a back and forth. The whole idea of this, like, all right, what do you talk about this? Do you want to talk about that? And you have to click buttons and buttons and buttons. And then at the end of the day, after clicking 5 buttons, it says, so we don't have any reps available. And you're like, oh.
Or it's like, did you check out this article?
Yeah,
it's
exactly. I've read all the articles. That's why I'm here, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that itch that we all have as consumers or product users, where it's like, I know it's not always on the phone, but it's like that, I just want the operator. Like, get me to somebody that can answer my question because I'm not feeling heard. Like, that is the biggest problem in most support like analysis that we've seen.
It's also because these support systems, although they use a lot of, advanced search technology to kind of coordinate and comprise all this support tickets and blah, blah, blah. What's missing, and this is, again, one of those small factors that why AI is 10 times better than what you typically have now, is it has no context. So you ask a question and then you try to explain to it like you would a human, like, no, my situation is unique because of this, or no, because of this, but it just keeps giving the same answer because all it's doing is taking your keywords and finding the best article that matches those keywords. Even though you're giving it nuance, it doesn't understand nuance. On the AI side, it understands nuance so well, especially if the company that built the AI took the time to train it the right way, find all those nuances in past tickets, and allow the AI to understand that these situations, which are typically not black and white, there's a lot of gray in support and sales. The AI understands that and can actually drive that toward. And what makes it even more powerful is when it's all said and done, and you bring the human in the loop that looks at that full thread, and it actually can learn. The human can come in and correct it, or the human can come in and say, hey, that was a great job. And it can actually learn through use. And that's something that these other tools that exist today do not do at all.
Yeah, and it's kind of the difference between where we have a lot of customers that are, tech forward, and we have a lot that aren't maybe super tech forward. So when they start to, look at this from almost like a RAG approach, and it's like, it's a lot more dynamic than that. Like, you're not just going out and trying to find the best or the most likely potential option in that database. It's like, I've been trained that when these kind of questions are asked, that the answer is probably over here. But in a normal RAG approach, it's going to go and, like you said, grab a bunch of stuff that might be in the same realm but isn't relevant. And now we're talking about a customer experience that might have started here by how quickly it was engaged, that quickly falls off just because that consumer now is just like, why don't you get what I'm asking?
Yeah, a lot of people have taken the approach of AI being kind of this conversational interface, but then when the user asks a question like, how do I change my password? It then takes that and sends it as a query, like you said, through a RAG to some other system like Intercom. And then it does then you're going back to running it like Intercom. And I've used this analogy a lot. It's like, we just invented the automobile, right? we were all riding horses yesterday, and there's a non-zero number of people that are probably trying to get their horse to pull their car, right? Because they're just thinking, oh, I don't want to, I spent all this money on the horse, so I'll just have it pull my, my Ford.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, get rid of the horse or put it out to pasture or ride it on the weekends for fun if you want to. Get in the car and hit the gas pedal. And that's why you have to really embrace this idea of training your AI, bringing all of that data that's within your knowledge base and your support system, if you're deploying a CSR, into your own model, into your own, vector store or your own vector database, and then allow AI to really, truly connect the dots in a way that makes it much more intuitive and nuanced and a better support system. RAG is powerful in the sense that when you need real-time information, if you need the price of Bitcoin today, because I'm sure everybody is, all the millennials out there are like, yeah, what's the price of Bitcoin, right? So, if I need something that's actually been updating on a daily or weekly or even or hourly or whatever, at a frequency that's higher than what you're planning on training your AI, sure, use functions, use RAG to go out and grab that information. If you're trying to find the latest ticket that this customer support did and you want to bring it into the conversation, absolutely, that's what RAG is for. It's really about grabbing or inserting or updating data into third-party apps that is not based in the training. And that's exactly how many people playing the home game probably don't know how this works with ChatGPT, but ChatGPT is built on a foundational model that is generated over a course of, let's say, 4 to 6 months. And then it's a moment in time. It is over. It's done. It's read only. It's a big database that then becomes a foundational model. All the other stuff on top of ChatGPT, when you ask it what the price of Bitcoin is, or if you ask it about current weather or current news, it's no longer finding that information inside of the LLM. It is actually querying the open internet, right? And so there is a place where the LLM stops and normal software, as if you will, or the normal search takes over, which is really their own version of RAG. So I think there's a lot of this in the architecture of how you look at these deployments of SDRs and CSRs, where you have to make a decision. Okay, am I building the smartest sales agent and the smartest support agent from now to the years to come? And am I going to train this and have a system that I know that anytime something is added or adjusted within my business, first and foremost, this AI knows everything about that? Or am I going to tether that functionality and kind of, rope it in, or as I mentioned, the horse pulling the car, and tap into this old legacy CRM or sales system that is still baked on the old search mentality that we all know is not working, and essentially find myself at a dead end in 3 to 6 months, because it's really all you're doing again is you're limiting yourself by the capabilities of those legacy SaaS systems.
Yeah. One thing I want to touch on, because we were coming up on time for kind of this little mini app, but with that same thing about, where are we focusing the resources that are needed, right? So like, why have the horse pull the car when the car can drive? SEO has been something that we've seen a much higher output, from AI than probably we would have experienced maybe 6 to 12 months ago, just with the ability to automate and really focus on, like, if you've got a marketing team, is it more important for them to be handling, the daily campaign management and like crafting of the brand, or should they be sitting there creating blogs, and just generating this true SEO that's going to rise you organically? So we talked about on a previous episode too, that, organic traffic, both through Google and where we expect SEO to be, is something that's important, but there is starting to be this little shift of, AI driven SEO. And I just want to get your kind of like quick take on that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously one of the biggest, value adds that obviously everybody's witnessing with the large language model and AI in general is generation of content, right? That's why it's called generative AI. And we see this in images, we see this with video, but we also obviously see it with text. Well, it doesn't take much to really kind of game theory or of thought experiment to really think about what the world looks like in 5 years when you've given the power to generate unlimited content, and the only limitation really is the price of the token, right? So assuming there is some theoretical limit, nobody's going to spend $1 million to produce a quadrillion blogs, because there's no ROI model there. But if everybody starts spending money and time and generating more and more content, you have to be in that race if you're going to want to create a moat, or you want to defend, even, and more so if you are already doing a really good job of SEO, I would argue. So if you're already showing up in the top results, you're going to want to play defense and make sure that you continue to have a broad stroke approach and using generative AI and building out your plan to do that.
And it doesn't take away from the content that's being made. I think that's, maybe again, I'm broad stroking it here, but I do feel that from a creative perspective, blog writing has to be one of the most like boring tasks of a content creator.
Yeah. Again, like everything else with AI, I think the first thing that people think when they think AI is do it what we do, how we think about doing it, and then literally mirror it on AI. And that's the completely wrong way of thinking about it. And that's why a lot of people get into this trap of like AI taking my job, is because they haven't thought past this idea of like, no, it doesn't. First of all, AI doesn't want your job. So it's not even about that. Like, it's just this false fantasy.
That's fair.
So when I even think of SEO, what I think about is reimagine what is SEO at the end of the day, and what are you trying to do when you build out your strategy of content to drive work?
I'm closing my eyes and living in this world you're building.
You
Rich,
want to create content that represents your brand, your ethos, your culture, your personality. So all that lives, ironically, inside of the day-to-day experience. And people who do a great job of marketing really take that, what I call the truth of within a business, and expand it out for people to experience it, right? You want to be inside of that experiential, especially in today's social media. That's why TikTok and Instagram are dominating, because it feels like you get to see behind the PR wall, right? And AI makes that accessible to everybody. So now I look at it like, for example, we have company meetings, right? What do we do? We have a meeting and we talk about random things, mostly me talking, but people listen to me talking about random things. And then
debatable.
A year ago, it would have been the end of it. And most people would have walked out of that meeting and go, I have no idea why I was in that meeting. Just Rich was blabbering about something. But, and I took away 2 or 3 things, but then I forget them in 20 or 30 hours anyway. So what's the point? But now with AI, you can take that meeting, you can condense it, you can summarize it, you can then
and create content around
then generate content around it. You can generate internal content or external content, right? So you have to think of it, and I'm reminded of all these other really, really cool tools that are coming out. And I think this is where people are naive to what's about to happen. Like, like tools like Google's LM Notebook or Notebook LM, which is basically, you could literally take anything. You could take the most boring page of content and you could create a podcast out of it, right? And so think of the power of that, right? So now I think what marketing people should be thinking about is not about, oh, I used to write the blog, now AI is writing the blog. Now they can think about, hey, let's turn inwardly. Let's think about content creation at its rawness, from a first principle. Let's go create content. Let's talk to our employees. Let's go talk to our customers. And then when I have a Zoom meeting with a customer talking about their experience, that is the seed that I can then go generate a blog. I can generate a podcast. I can generate video. That's how you have to think of it. It's not a replacement. It's a completely new way of thinking about content creation. Because I think what most people are doing, if they are still blogging, is they're probably saying, oh, I got to do a blog a week and I got to release it on Friday morning. So on Thursday night, they're just coming up with some random idea of what to blog about. Yeah, and in the back of their mind, they're going to, nobody's going to read this because it's not interesting. It's a first point of view. But if they really thought about content creation from first principle and said, let's go out and find out interesting human stories that people will want to read, then a blog is more of a secondary thought. It's just another output of a really solid input. But you wouldn't do that without AI because it's just too much work. So I think it's just reframing the way you look at things is like the most important component of AI. And once you do that, then you're going to embrace it like nothing else.
Yeah, we've been using Rhea to write all of our blogs because it gives Rich more time to learn all the TikTok
Exactly.
dances. So like that's where our content comes
Exactly.
from. That's really where like all 100 and something thousand subscribers come from. If you guys dig deep into the shorts, there's some really really solid TikTok
my number
dances
one
in there,
KPI is TikTok time. Like it's I call it triple T.
Do we have enough triple T in the budget? I don't think we do.
It used to be PPC, cost per acquisition, cost per click. Now it's TTT, triple T. Yeah, my triple T is through the roof right now. Yeah.
Well, for everyone listening, thank you guys for joining us on this episode. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button to stay in touch. Also, check out our Substack for more content, which will be linked to this episode to continue this discussion. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care, everyone.
Welcome to the show, where AI takes the floor. Leah Rich on the mic.